Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Donovan.
I'm Jordan.
Join us as we go into the pages.
Podcast.
All right, we're starting a new book,
Secret Project number 2.
and I don't know about you, but I just have no idea what to even expect. So after seeing the title last week, it's like, what the heck is this book gonna be? I was kind of almost expecting it to be bullet points for 300 pages, but like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, but still, even like, I think this book in a lot of ways defied what I was expecting. Because I was expecting it to be kind of like a. I don't even know what the heck I was expecting. I think I was expecting it to be like about a wizard living in medieval England. And like him just talking about, like, this is what I do, this is how I survive. And I guess like an adventure
Yeah,
or something. Kind of like.
that's kind of exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah. But.
It's something. I don't know why I was expecting it to be a simple wizard talking about, because it's Brandon's book. It's not going to be that simple, straightforward thing. I'm also excited to be reading this book because this is the first Brandon Sanderson book that I am reading, that I will have read, that is not in the Cosmere, because I haven't read any of his other non-Cosmere books.
Well, you haven't.
So this will be interesting.
Call yourself a Brandon Sanderson fan.
One day I will be. Well, this one kind of just...
I like how this one starts.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. It doesn't start with a typical beginning with Tress. We kind of got like, oh, this girl on an island, kind of got, you learned who she was. But this one is kind of just like, it's like chaos or almost just starting.
Yeah, they're kind of thrown into the middle of who the heck knows what. And I was trying to like imagine myself in the situation. So it's like opening up. Just this guy doesn't even know. We don't know what his name is. He doesn't know what his name is. He just was waking up in the middle of a field that's on fire. And there's like a silhouette of a person that he was laying on the unburned grass. Surrounded by burnt grass, and there's like these pages, these cindered pages or singed pages.
Yeah.
Floating everywhere. He's just like, what the heck? Where am I? Who am I? What's going on?
Yeah. The beginning of this book totally feels like a video game to me. Maybe that was part of Brandon's inspiration. But it feels like a video game because video games are often like this, where like you don't know what's going on, you don't know what you're supposed to do, but there's these pages, gathered pages, and they give you a little bit of information. But then the more you get, the more the world is opened up to you, and you know what's going on, and you get more experience and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it totally feels like I'm reading a video game, kind of.
I think it was a pretty cool approach to see how he's trying to figure out what's going on. Because he literally doesn't know anything. So he's like, am I fireproof? Because he sees like all these things going around. He's like, what the crap? And then he sees that he's wearing like weird clothes. Like he has jeans and like a tunic. And who the heck? Like, what the heck else? He's like, oh my gosh. Am I a cosplayer?
Yeah, that's what he jumped to.
I think it's funny that he goes right to like freaking out, like, is he a nerd?
Yeah. That was kind of our first clue, too, that maybe this is not really medieval England. Because do people who lived in the medieval times know what cosplay is? I don't think they did.
I think that's our first clue.
Yeah.
This is going to be our typical.
It was the first one.
You also get a little bit of a foreshadowing here. When he asks if he's fireproof, he's like, maybe I have augments to that effect. So it's kind of like, okay, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
It seems like as the story goes on, and we've only read the first 6 chapters we're talking about in this episode, but as the story goes on, like little snippets will come back, like not necessarily memories, but just things that I guess are everyday life to who he was before he got his amnesia.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like for me, it'd be like if I was like walking along and I was like, oh, there's a like maybe I have. I don't even know what relates to this. It's like, where would that come from? Like he doesn't know who he is, doesn't know anything, but he's like, perhaps I have augments to that effect to make him fireproof. So I don't know. It seems like there's some shadows, something lurking around there. And like
Yeah,
half
he
the time,
doesn't. I think you nailed it right there. Like, he doesn't necessarily have like memories. Like, he's remembering like, oh, I live in a world where there's augments, and maybe I have an augment for this. But it's more like there is knowledge he's accessing that is not really memories. Like, we could access our knowledge of. There's no good example.
I know. I was like trying to think of one. And I was like, there's got to be something. And I was just like thinking about it. It's,
Yeah. What? Yeah. I definitely there's something, but whatever it is, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's like.
even though he doesn't know who he is, he still has a sense of like I don't know what he is or where he's from. He's not kind of like a sense of that. He's just forgotten completely who he is.
Yeah. But it's always interesting when you run into a story like this where like the person has no memory of themselves, but they still remember how to do basic things. Like, they're not like a child again, like an infant.
Yeah.
They still know how to walk and move around. They can speak the language that whatever language they speak. And he still retains his knowledge about augments, even though he.
Some part of his subconscious survived whatever the heck is going on.
Yeah.
And we get our first little artwork at this point.
Yes, his artwork is pretty cool.
So we look at what this character looks like. We don't have any idea what his name is. But it's just him. He's in this big circle, and the silhouette's a lot bigger than I thought.
Yeah, I totally forgot that it was huge, but
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the size of him, like when I was imagining it. But the artwork shows
it's like a giant. It's like 3 times the size.
yeah, like 2-3 times the size,
Yeah.
probably 3 times the size. But
There's also a lot more pages. Was there only one page?
so he said he saw pages fluttering around about, but I think he was only able to grab 1 or 2.
Oh, okay.
Two.
So that just brings it right back to a video game. Like, you start off somewhere and suddenly all these pages they're gone anywhere. You're reaching for some basic ones that you can, but then like your mission, get the rest of the pages, and like it gives you like a percentage bar.
Which is totally bad thing. So we'll get to that. But going back to the art, there you can also see there's like a buildings in the background.
Yeah. And it does look like villages you see back in like medieval times where it's like made of wood and straw. Kind of.
And like as you can imagine, he's just totally disoriented, this character. And it makes sense, like if you just saw someone wake up in a field in a burning circle. Like, who the heck am I? So he like tries to start reasoning. He's like, was I a photographer? Pyrotechnics went wrong? Or like, well then where's my camera? He's like, I don't know what the crap is going on.
Yeah. After he said that, I started referring to him as the photographer just in my head. Like, who is this photographer? Just because I'm a photographer, so I hope he's a photographer too.
Yeah, and then he notices the papers floating around and of course grabs one. And this is when things start to seem a little more weird for me. Because the title of the book we know is The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. And the paper he finds says that. The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. So it seems like he had the manual at least, and somehow it exploded. We don't know what the crap is happening.
Yeah.
And then he hears people coming. And well, before we get to that, the pages are singed, so we can't see everything, but we do get little hints of what's going on. So something about it being traumatic, recuperating, don't stress out about disorientation, and like apparently whatever's happening to him is offered by some company, the Frugal Wizard.
Yes.
It has like a trademark on it.
Yeah, it's funny how when you read through that, it always says TM. But I am suspecting that something went wrong with whatever's going on, because it talks about like you will have a suitable location for your recuperation, but like he's in the middle of a field and like a weird stencil thing is like points out his guidebook has exploded and like the field's on fire, so it doesn't seem like. And he also gets like the feeling that the people that you were talking about are near him he should be hiding from them. Like his instinct is saying like, don't go talk to them, like hide.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, so he's able to reason out. So I bought some kind of travel package. Like, I want you to do this.
Yeah.
And he starts like reviewing it.
Right. That was one of the funniest little quirks of this book so far.
I don't know what the reviews go for, but it's something like 2 out of 5 stars. Like, I have a comfortable place to recuperate, and I'm abandoned in the field.
So two stars.
And he's like stops, like, oh, why did I think that? Like, maybe I'm a reviewer.
Yeah.
He has no idea what's going on.
He made me think of like there's just those people who just review things. Like we've got all those Yelp reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
Makes me think he's just a Yelp reviewer. But he's not like a critic, a professional critic, like a movie critic or something. But he's just some disgruntled consumer, and he has to go out and like, ugh, this place is 2 stars because of this reason. Oh, but this place is 5 because I really liked it. So he's not got really any incentive to review stuff. He just does it because he wants to. He wants the world to know what it's done wrong or something.
And then he hears voices approaching, and his instincts take over, and he immediately, without even thinking, like before his brain catches up what he's doing, he's run and hid behind a tree, and he's reached for a gun, but he doesn't have a gun.
Yes.
But he reached for one, and he's like, wait a minute, why? Like, what's going on? Why did I do that?
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's fair. It's like, I'm not a bad guy, am I? Like, why was my first instinct to hide and reach for a weapon when I heard people coming?
Yeah. There's another point too. That's like saying like this is not the typical medieval time we're expecting. Like they don't have firearms. The best they got is a crossbow, probably.
So, and then it turns out that whatever happened to him made a very loud noise. So people come around, they start talking, and they said that they saw lightning or heard lightning or thunder in the middle of the day. And when they came to investigate, it seemed like they saw the silhouette of a person surrounded by burned ground. So they assumed that someone got struck down by a god.
Which makes sense considering what time they're from. There's no such thing as like natural disasters. It's all because of gods.
But then he I don't know why, but it's like he has this reviewing mindset because the leader of the group is wearing a bright orange cloak, and he's like, it was a color so vibrant that he has trouble believing it was period authentic. So, and he kind of describes them. So it seems like they're obviously peasants, but they're not talking like you would expect it, because he said there was no these, there was no thous or no lords. And then so he starts wondering, are these actors? Like, am I in some sort of like weird?
Oh,
Weird,
he did Renaissance Fair. Are you thinking?
Like Renaissance Fair or
Yeah.
theme park or something.
Yeah, he was thinking when he mentioned the photographer thing that he said he had been photographing a Renaissance fair. So I'm wondering if
He said he thinks that's maybe what he was doing. So
right.
Kind of reason
Was
why
it? Was he thinks?
Yeah, because he's like, why am I wearing this tunic? Why is everything burned around me? So he's like, maybe I was a photographer at a Renaissance fair and I wanted to make it look cool with pyrotechnics.
Oh, okay. So it does.
So he doesn't remember that's what he did. He just thinks like maybe that's a possibility. But then we see where he like runs away instantly, tries to reach for a gun. So I think that's probably not on the table. Like, I don't think it's hard. His instinct is
To reach for a gun.
Cover and try to get a weapon.
It is mine. No.
Then, like you said, this totally has a video game vibe, because so the people that come there, they collect all the pages, and they leave, and then he says, "I need those pages," and he's like, "All right, mission accepted."
Yeah, right. See, now they're a video game. Like you got to accept the missions. So you got to accept the missions. So it's making me think he's going for like a video game vibe. I am curious if the people who collected the pages can even read them. Are they in the same language, or?
I don't know, because later on they do recognize that they're words. They don't specifically say that they know what they meant, and it seems like there's also some taboo against words. We'll get there. I'm jumping pretty far ahead at this point, but yeah, I don't know if they necessarily can read, but I think they do know what words are. At least they knew enough to collect them and want to get them. Yeah, I think we'll find out why.
Yes. Perhaps. I wonder if they were like collecting them for their leaders. Like, we found these things. What does it mean? Yeah. Maybe the leaders can read this language.
Because he can understand them talking. So I'm assuming that since he was also able to read what was on the paper and he can understand what they're saying, they all speak the same language. It's all the same language. I'm assuming English. So yeah.
It's a good assumption.
It's interesting. So his initial instinct is to be super cautious. So when they leave, like part of him's like, I think they're actors, but should I go talk to them? Should I go say something? No. And he ends up just staying by the tree until night. And he just stays hidden by the same tree. He doesn't move.
Yeah.
It's funny. So it's just, I like this line. So he's saying, being cautious again, wanting to stay hidden. And he said, my gut said I was a person who trusted his gut.
But it's funny. I trust my gut because my gut says I trust it.
Yeah. So again, that makes me think, okay, this isn't an ordinary guy. This isn't a photographer. This isn't a cosplayer. Because he has instincts to, he's unsure what's going on, so he hides and doesn't let people see him. He reaches for a weapon. The second one is he has instincts strong enough to break through amnesia. And they're strong enough that even though he doesn't know why, he follows them. So I think he has. I think there's a lot of like, I don't know if muscle memory is the right term.
I think that's as close as it comes. Because I think when he talks about like he reached for a gun, I think that would be muscle memory. Like, and they're like, wait a minute, why would I reach for a gun? I don't have a gun. Why do I have a gun?
Yeah. So to be so on the defensive and so like cautious and just instantly ready, just for action.
Yeah.
Like even when he said he initially woke up, like he woke up and jolted and like instantly went to like a fighting stance and said, or like put his fists up. I don't know if he still went to a full fighting stance, but he put his fists up.
He was definitely like at the ready or ready to run or defend himself.
So whoever this dude is,
it definitely seems like he's something. I don't know what they would call it on his planet. He's a warrior, a soldier, maybe just a cop. Maybe he's a private investigator with like Harry Dresden and just crazy investigations. I don't know, but I think you're right though. He's not a photographer, as sad as that is.
So he waits until nightfall, and then he gives another review. So when it comes nighttime, he gives the tree a 4.5 out of 5. Because it was comfortable to wait behind. It hit him, but it didn't have refreshments.
Yeah.
So
That's another thing that's just so weird. Like he's reviewing, like a lot of people review businesses and well, I guess just businesses, but he reviews literally everything. And kind of ridiculously, like, it's a tree. Of course it doesn't have refreshments unless you want to tap it and suck on some sap. But
there's a maple tree.
exactly. It's going to have a really sticky drink, but like, why would you expect a tree to have refreshments? I think he's an interesting character thus far.
Yeah, so far. No one knows anything about him.
Yeah.
In this field, doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Then he starts to sneak. There's a town nearby. He wants to figure out what's going on. It's nighttime, and he's very good at sneaking. Like he just knows how to do it. Like again, that muscle memory thing. He's saying, like he seems shocked by this. He's like, I moved through the trees and the woods and whatever. Didn't even make a noise. And he was like, oh, I'm really good at sneaking.
Yeah. He must be. He's got to be like a spy or something. I don't even know.
And he was like, perhaps I was a ninja.
Yeah. A ninja that used a firearm.
He describes how dark it is, which I think is another kind of clue of who he might be in a way. Maybe not who he is, but maybe more clue where he's from. But it's so dark that it's like creeping me out a little bit when he talks about. He says it's like horror movie dark. So I'm like, okay, this isn't like a Hoy thing where we're getting like a different perspective, like someone narrating it. Like I think this is more like we're in his head, so he knows what a movie is. So it's like he's
right.
So I'm like, okay, so is he not medieval then? And then he says maybe it was so oppressive because he couldn't control it just by turning on a switch. So he knows what electricity is. Mm-hmm. He knows what a movie is. He knows a horror movie. And I think he's just like thinking of these things and not realizing like what he's doing. But I think it's pretty clear that if this actually is medieval England, that he does not belong.
Right.
Sci-fi. So okay, like I'm convinced at this point when I was reading through it that he he's not from medieval times.
No, definitely not at all.
And then the next part happens and it solidifies 100%. This is not. And maybe, but so he finds like a little stream or something, and when he goes to take a drink of it, he just knows. He's like, oh, if there's anything in this, my medical nanites will neutralize any bacteria that will be harmful to me.
Yeah.
Then
So there was like that was not only another clue that obviously he doesn't belong in Middle of England. He's not from there, but he's from a more advanced time than ours, because we definitely do not have medical nanites.
Exactly.
At least none that are being used right now. I guess I don't know what they're experimenting on,
It
but
seems super useful because he said
yeah,
they stop toxins, prevent diseases, they help break down food and gives him the ideal nutrition and calories, and in an emergency would heal him. And he said, like, last time I've been shot, I was back on my feet within an hour. And so I'm like, okay, this is pretty impressive technology.
yeah.
Definitely not from medieval England. So
No.
like, what is going on?
Yes. I was also thinking when he talked about that part where he had been shot, he's not a regular person, like a average Joe from wherever he's from, because I don't think average people would generally get shot. So that just leads me more to believe that he's got to be something. Maybe he's a vigilante of some sort, and it's not really like a police officer or some sort of lawkeeper or a soldier or whatever. And maybe he just helps out and or whatever. Whatever he does, he seems to get into hairy situations and to get shot. I want to know where he got shot. Like if he got shot in the pinky, then maybe that I'd be impressed. I wouldn't be impressed. Yeah, exactly. But if he was shot like in the face and it was up in within an hour, then dang, that's some serious nanite technology.
So yeah, so we find out he has these nanobots to help him not get sick. I wonder if it stops aging too. Helps prevent aging.
I wouldn't be surprised if it slows it down at least, but
We do find out he has to eat more than a normal person.
yeah.
And he has to eat certain. Like he says like any food would be alright, but there's like certain foods
They're like better,
that are
which
better.
makes sense. That's how real food is anyway. But maybe it still like works differently. Maybe a donut works better than like a piece of broccoli for these nanites. I assume it's for the nanites. Maybe just. I wonder if the nanites run off his body energy. That's why he has to eat more.
It's beyond me. Star Trek nonsense. And then he's exploring. He finds a fortress. There's like something that's surrounded by a wall that's like 8 feet tall.
Was that what he rated as like 2 stars because it didn't have Wi-Fi?
No, that's just what he saw when he saw the houses. So there's like houses.
Oh, that was the
And then,
houses.
like further in, there's like a wall. So it's like houses, and then there's a wall, and then there's something inside the wall.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a gate, and so he decides to hide again. So he finds another tree, and he just says he's gonna hide there until the gate's open. And then he gives the star 3 stars because it had an uncomfortable root network, and it wasn't for an inexperienced hider. And he says, "See my other reviews of trees in the area for more options." So it seems like he's kind of a sarcastic guy.
It kind of does.
Even to himself, he's just kind of like being snarky. Saying ridiculous things.
Yeah, there's a better 4.5 rated trade nearby. You should just use. He's crazy.
And then while he's waiting, he hears a noise that he thinks is a car, but turns out to be 2 men on horseback coming to the gated portion of this town or city or wherever the heck he is. And the gate's open, and everyone's so excited that the guards stop watching, and he's able to slip inside when the men on the horseback arrive. And again, his instincts take over because he knows not to sprint, but he knows to take an opportunity right when it comes. So he's able to like get in there. He knows to stick to shadows and to move in a way that doesn't create profile or silhouette, and to not be noticed. So it seems like, I don't know, maybe he was some sort of like spy or soldier or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely is something like that for sure. Or just some crazy guy who learned all this to be a vigilante. You know? But I think it's wax, just from a different dimension. He's got augments instead of metal he can burn, and he's left the cosmere.
And even he starts to have these realizations because he says that these didn't seem like type of abilities. This is a quote. It didn't seem like type of abilities that belonged to a law-abiding citizen who spent his days reviewing trees. He's now starting to maybe have a little darker. He's like, what the heck am I? Like, what is going on?
What am I?
So he starts exploring, and he sees what I guess appears to be kind of like an offering of some sort. These like these bowls or dishes full of like fruit and different things, and surrounded by candles. His first page that he must collect in the offering, so he decides to go grab it.
It's a good page. And this page he finds is one of the most illuminating. Well, I think it is the most illuminating thus far.
Yes, and it totally confirms everything we've figured out to this
Yeah.
point.
It even begins with your own dimension. So it's like, oh, right there, that just answers a bunch of questions and gives you an idea of what's going on. Why this person who is obviously not medieval, dressed completely different, has a knowledge of a completely different world, and he's in another dimension.
Yep. And I think that's even how this chapter ends. Is he says this was another dimension and I owned it.
Yes.
So somehow he purchased another dimension, and then I guess what we're left to assume at this point in the story is he got transported there and something went wrong and made him lose his memories and everything. So.
Yes. We kind of assume that right now that something went wrong since he doesn't remember anything. We don't know yet, but it certainly seems that way. And this also, this goes beyond even like the technology of nanites, because they not only discover that there are other dimensions, but they found a way to access it, if you will, and like you can travel there. And there's some frugal wizard company out there that like sells you these dimensions, and you can just buy it and go there.
Yeah, and then we get a little more. I guess I don't know if this is all on the page he found, but right before chapter 3 starts, it's just like a little blurb about this dimension. So we find out that interdimensional travel apparently was discovered in 2084. So this is in the future, and he is from Earth. So we know that this is a different dimension from Earth.
So maybe Brandon knows something we don't, that they're working on getting to different dimensions, and by 2080 some odd working. This is so far turning out to be more of a science fiction story.
And apparently there's this company that will sell you and give you exclusive rights to your own dimension, and apparently that's like all inclusive. So it's not just Earth. Like you're buying a different version of Earth and everything related to it. So it's like a whole universe is essentially yours. And
Yeah, it seems like there's so much more we don't know, but like if you bought Earth's dimension, then you would own Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, the Sun, the rest of the galaxy.
so I imagine that'd be pretty expensive, but
Yeah.
how much because they also have a joke here though, because in the little blurb that says act now before all the good dimensions are claimed, but then there's a disclaimer that says this is an entertainment purpose. Dimensions are technically infinite and we cannot run out. So it's interesting that an infinite thing doesn't seem like it would be that expensive, but I bet what they're paying for is the technology to transport there.
That would make more sense, because I don't think anyone would have enough money to buy the universe for what it's worth.
Yeah, and if there's like infinite numbers of them. Familiar, but these dimensions are a millennia behind where we are in our technology. And like, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I think it's fine to do here. But they talk about how like Nebraska, apparently I don't know if this is true, but Nebraska apparently is like a year or two behind the rest of the United States because it's so far away from popular places that like the songs
Yeah,
listen to.
for some reason, everything, all the current stuff doesn't really get there for a while for some reason. I wonder if they would just, I don't know if that's true either.
Did you catch the magic joke at
I don't remember what it is.
Because he said it's like Nebraska, because songs, clothes, and trading card games don't get there.
So
Well,
that's
that's what he
that's
meant, but I'm totally
I don't know why that wouldn't be what he meant, because that's what Brandon plays, so it totally makes sense. It's like it's a magic. It's Magic the Gathering.
yeah.
So I'm curious now. We got Magic reference and Tress, and now the Frugal Wizard. So is this just going to be something we can see in the other secret projects?
Something like that.
Maybe one of them will be Planeswalkers in the Cosmere now.
Yeah. And he seems a little overwhelmed, a little excited to learn this. He's like, I own England. I own this planet. I own this entire universe. On paper, at least. He's like, his memory's still foggy. Like, for all we know, he's just making this assumption.
Yeah.
Still doesn't know. Like, he's just reading this, and this manual that says, "Congratulations, you own a dimension." And he's like, "Oh, I guess I own this." Well, seems like he's making an assumption. So I'm still reserving that maybe something did go wrong, or maybe he like hijacked the system and went there when he wasn't supposed to.
Maybe.
Then maybe that's why it went wrong, or maybe there was some sort of issue that made it this way. But
Yeah.
I don't want to do
I
but I don't. My early prediction is that he didn't actually buy this, and he is there illegally.
I don't think that. We will see. My prediction is we won't get the whole story until like the book is over. Once we get to the end, then we'll be able to.
I do think we won't get the full story, but I think I'm right still. No, you can shut it.
Do you think he's actually a wizard?
No.
I don't either. Even though it says,
I think
as an interdimensional wizard, you are part of the bold new, whatever of explorers.
Yeah, because I think part of the sell on this is if you buy your own dimension, you can go back. Technically, not actually, but technically go back thousands of years in history. I don't know how long ago the medieval times were. Hundreds of years. I don't know, hundreds of years.
I think it was hundreds, yeah, not thousands.
And then have amazing technology. Which of those people would make you a wizard? Like, can you imagine if you showed up and then
Since they are superstitious, like, I don't remember, did we say that or did they mention this? I can't remember,
we
but
haven't mentioned it yet, but we will get there.
okay, but they'll see any sort of technological thing as magic and not.
Yeah, like almost any piece of technology you could take there, and they'd be amazed by it, and it would be very easy to pass off as a wizard.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
But maybe there's still a frugal wizard out there that's writing.
I think that's their ploy. It makes it sound like there's other companies out there because they even mentioned. I don't know if this is in the later. I think there's a bunch of blurbs scattered throughout the first 6 chapters.
What is a blurb? We should define that.
Oh, sorry. So
Because I don't even know what you're talking about. What's a blurb?
I'm talking about a blurb that seems like it's like a full cohesive page or two of excerpts from the Frugal Wizard's Guide to Medieval England.
Okay.
And I don't know if these are pages he's found or if these are just little pieces that we get. Like, in Stormlight Archives, each chapter has like that little paragraph in front of it that's like in the Way of Kings, it's like the Death Whispers.
Right.
And then some of it's like Caravangian's work. And I think it's something similar to that. Whereas like the characters don't necessarily know the information that we're reading, but it's information given to us, the reader. So that's what I mean. When I say blurb, that's what I'm talking about. Like it's
Okay.
It's an excerpt. Maybe I'll call it an excerpt from Frugal Wizard's Guide.
Okay. There you go. I guess that makes more sense.
What was I talking about?
We were talking about cotton candy and Renaissance.
Oh yeah, so I think the Frugal Wizard is one of maybe many companies. Because there was an excerpt, I don't remember exactly where it is, that talked about how at the Frugal Wizard, we know that you can make it on your own without having a lavish castle and servants like other things that will give you. So it seems like there's other companies out there that kind of offer a similar type thing.
Yeah.
And they even mentioned that, which I thought was interesting, they found dimensions that do closely resemble Earth, but those are reserved for government research and historical research. And it's only the ones that are different enough, but not super different, that they send people to, and I guess you can buy, and they have tours you can go on. It's this whole business of just interdimensional travel. Like, you can buy your own universe, you can tour a different one. So
That would be quite a vacation.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, I did. Did it talk about it in this?
So that's another reason why I'm thinking that he's not supposed to be there,
Okay.
because it seems like it's this big thing that they've been doing for a while, and so it seems weird that they would mess up in such a big way for him.
Oh, we get to chapter 3, and yep, he just confirms that yes, he owns this dimension. He owned England, the planet, the entire universe. On paper, at least, is what you were saying. Which would be intimidating, because what are you supposed to do? You show up to this universe, but like, I bought this universe and all you people with it. They just run at you with pitchforks and bows and arrows. Yes, that's why he needs augment, so that he doesn't have to be destroyed by everyone quickly. But I don't think that would go over well if you just like, I buy your universe and try to take over and make it your own or whatever. Yeah, so I definitely am curious what the point is for these guys to buy a universe. Is it just so they can have a universe they are allowed to go visit and they can do whatever they want, and like the people from their dimension can't do anything about it?
I think that's what it seems like.
That's kind of the only thing I'm kind of getting.
Yeah, like they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Essentially, he even thinks about that. He's like, how would I convince these people that I own them? Like, I could try to show off my nanites, but I would have to like get bit by a snake or maybe have someone stab me. But then apparently, if his nanites have to emergency heal him, then it takes a couple days for them to regenerate and be able to cure him. And so he doesn't want to do that.
Right.
But while he's thinking about this, he's realizing that he's so at this point he's snuck up to the manor and inside the gates. He's grabbed that second piece of paper, which is where we kind of got the information we're talking about. We know this is a second dimension, not a second dimension, just another dimension. But he's missed a conversation, and he realizes that the two people that came on horses are looking for him. And so he's like, "Oh, good, finally. Maybe they realized something went wrong, and they sent these people after me." So he wants to try to get their attention, but he's like right when he's trying to he's like in the shadows. They walk out the door, and he like starts to go get their attention, but then he hears something behind him. And then again, these instincts kick in, and he spins around ready to fight, and there's a dude there with a knife that starts attacking him. And we find out his other technological ability, because he blocks the knife with his arm, and it doesn't pierce his skin, doesn't even
Yes.
leave a scratch mark. And then he realizes, oh, I'm augmented in other places too. Like, apparently I can't be stabbed. And so he gets a little confident because the guy can't stab him. But then another girl comes, and she starts to swing like a huge 2x4 at his face. And he's like, well, I can take this. And then clocks him and just knocks him out. So, okay.
Which is just hilarious.
So, yeah. So, actually, I forgot. So, the reason why he kind of let his guard down a little bit is he has like almost like a flash, like a more of emotional memory than I guess actual memory. Because like he felt pain and deep shame, and it choked him, and it made him kind of like stumble and not pay attention, and that's when he gets whacked in the face.
Yeah. He got distracted by some random, like this one seemed more like a memory, an emotional memory, I guess.
Yeah,
He didn't really have like a memory. He just felt the emotion of like shame and guilt. Yeah. But he was distracted enough by that a 2x4 took him out.
And then we get our next little excerpt from the Frugal Wizard's Guide to Medieval.
Yes, they have a frequently asked questions section. And this is where we learn something really interesting. I had to stew on this one a little bit because I was confused at how this worked. But this guy, whoever he is, has not time traveled. But for some reason, this dimension he's in, whether he owns it or not, like advanced slower than
that's what
or his world.
It's like with the whole Nebraska thing.
Yeah.
He's saying that for some reason they just did, and I guess it makes sense because if there's infinite dimensions and there's infinite possibilities, it makes sense that there's going to be
Some who did not advance as fast.
enough for them to sell.
They didn't have Leonardo da Vinci or and all the other people to invent stuff.
And this expert even says like you're probably not going to meet. There's not going to be a George Washington. There's not going to be a Winston Churchill. There's not going to be like you probably know
You
those famous historical
got to
figures.
find other people.
But there will be people that do almost exactly what they do, just under different names.
So you could still kind of, if you really wanted to get technical, meet people like, you could meet them, but not really.
He's knocked out. He wakes up.
We get to chapter 4 and he wakes up. He's strung up to the ceiling. Or is it the wall?
The ceiling. So he's strung up by the rafters and he's by his ankles. So he's upside down and his hands are tied behind his back. And there is a boy and a girl there. And
Did we get an idea of how old they were?
So he has him up. He thinks he's a little older, like maybe between 16. He's like, oh no, maybe he's 12 or 15. He's like, oh no, maybe he's like 9 or 10. So he's a young kid.
Yeah.
And maybe just a little tall for his age.
Oh, that's right. I remember he was talking about he might be a little tall.
Yeah. And then he realizes that the boy is definitely afraid of him, and the girl's acting a little more confident, but also weary. And then she starts, like they're talking, and like the kid's like, he's like super powerful, like we gotta do this. And then so he kind of catches on to that, and he says, "You made a terrible mistake. I'm a powerful being, and I'm getting angry."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my god!" But then the girl says, "Like, has he eaten you yet?" So I'm like, "What the crap?" So apparently they think that
he's gonna eat them for some reason.
Somehow they say like apparently suspending him upside down has prevented him from being able to eat them.
Yeah.
Because they think, what do they think he is? They think he's an elf, I think is what they called it.
Yeah. Do you remember what it said in the audiobook?
Yeah, it's like elf. It's almost not like
Alv,
Alf, elf, but like with a weird a in front of it. It's like alv.
Alv.
Like alv, or something like that. I'm saying it wrong, but
okay.
Something like that. It made me think, okay, that's like the similarity to like, suspicions back then of like fairies and elves and pixies and mystical creatures. It seems like they think he's one of those, but they just call it something a little different.
Yes.
So they think they've captured him, and now they're going to try to banish him.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it kind of worked. Even though their superstitions are incorrect and he's not one of these creatures that they think he is, they still successfully bound him. He can't get out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then she starts like reciting what kind of seems like poetry to him, but she makes a weird symbol with her hands. I don't really know exactly what it is, but it says that.
So I wonder, fingers up, thumbs up, and fingers up and thumbs out toward one another. So I wonder if she's sitting like this, just like, get out of here.
And then she like says things like weird poetry. And then when she finished, they both look, and he's like, "Poetry? That was nice." And then the kid kind of freaks out. He's like, "Try a stronger one." And she says another one.
They call it something interesting too. He said, "Try a stronger boast."
Yeah.
So what?
Boast.
I don't know what a boast is supposed to mean, but it's their form of like they think they're doing magic, like boast it to him and be gone.
Something. But we also know that the girl's name is Cephawin, and the boy's name is.
Call them.
It's like worm, but it's like weird. I don't know how they pronounced it in the audiobook.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Wyron. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But yeah, they're brother and sister. And yeah, they're trying to do something, boast or something. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, so they're kids, but they somehow think they can take care of this guy themselves and banish him or boast at him. But obviously they're unsuccessful. Seems like this definitely is not a magical world. Even the different dimensions are not magical.
Or maybe it's just not working because he's not an AO.
That could be a good point too. Like he's not what they think they are. So you can't banish a spirit from a table because this table doesn't even have its spirit. So if you try to banish a spirit from the table, it's not gonna work. So that's a terrible metaphor, but there you go.
Yeah, so she sends her brother off to go get the leader of the village, who they call Little Father. So while he's gone, something super interesting happens. I think it's pretty cool, but with his augments, he says. He's saying we don't know what his name is, but focuses on his augments and realizes that his legs, arms, shoulders, and back are all augmented. And way he knows this is when he starts thinking about it, a display comes up. Like he's
Yeah,
able to see a display.
which I thought was super cool. And it's I don't remember, but it seems like he's the only one who can see it.
Yeah, I think somehow I don't know if it just like
Because the
connects to.
girl
I'm sure
didn't
it makes
respond.
sense though because the eyes, how they work, is just like an electric signal in your brain when you really see. So I'm sure it's just something similar to that. So like he's
they
not seeing it, but
they
he's
found a way to tap into that so you can see. That'd be cool. You could just sit there and watch a movie and no one would know.
yeah. So he's doing that, and then he realizes that so his legs, arms, and back augmentations are operational, but his chest and his head augmentations are not operational.
Yeah. So actually, that explains why. Oh my gosh, her name is so crazy that I'm gonna forget it every time I try to say it. Cepha Win. So that explains why when she swung that 2x4 at him, it didn't like just break or bounce off him because
I
his
think it also explains why he wasn't super worried about it because even because he had those instincts, and even though he was a little disoriented, like he was still like not super worried when it knocked him out. But his instincts were surprised by that. But
yeah. That also kind of explains maybe the reason he has lost his memory and can't quite remember why he's here, what this dimension is all about, where he's from, who his name is, and it's because his head augment is malfunctioning or damaged or something. So it whatever happened knocked him in the noggin and he just lost everything.
makes sense to me. But it's funny. He's like complaining. He's like, whoever did these didn't pay for it. Like, he thinks like maybe he didn't fully pay off his head and chest augmentation.
Imagine having a like a car loan on your something in your body. That'd be weird.
That'd be really weird.
Especially if like the person you got the thing from, the augment, I guess, is just like you didn't pay your loan, so beep and turn it off.
Yeah, cause I don't know. He has a vague impression that he had.
Yeah. If someone else did buy these augments for him, just reinforces my belief that he is someone working for the government, and so the government took care of all of his expenses to get these augments. Because I mean, like when our soldiers go to boot camp or whatever, they don't have to buy all the rifles and stuff. I assume. I guess I don't know.
Maybe that's exactly what it is.
I also love. I'm probably going to bring this. This is probably something we're going to bring up a lot throughout this book, but he rates Cephawin. She gets 0 stars.
Oh yeah, because when the brother leaves to go get the leader of the village, he like tries talking to her.
Yeah, and she just completely ignores him, just stares at him. He's like, I'd rather have a conversation with the corpse. So she got 0 stars. But that's just a funny little quirk that is in this book that he is going to review literally everything.
So yeah, and then the leader comes, and he's kind of shocked because this is like a huge guy, like a big burly beard. He's like 6'4". Just this huge guy, and he's like,
Yeah.
aren't people supposed to be shorter back?
Yeah.
Like it's just another one of those divergent things where in this dimension they're tall.
Yeah.
Where he is. And then they're so suspicious. They think that he's something. They like because the leader comes in like, what is he? And then like, there's not a land's white, whatever the heck that is. And they think that he's an elf, and which relieves the leader because he was thinking that it might have been a god that he might have been a god because of how he appeared. But
Apparently not.
and then we learn a little bit about maybe their suspicion of the written word because they're saying that he's still dangerous, and the boy says that he took one of the offerings, but not any of the food or drink. He took the incantation. And then the leader's like, written word. And he's like, did you bring it here? Or like, did it draw you here? Like, what can we do to get rid of you? Like, he seems like he just wants him to get gone. And then he tries to like, let me down, I'll go. And then the leader's like, oh, nice try. So it almost seems like they think that he's some sort of like fey creature that's trying to manipulate them into letting him go, and they're trying to like get the wiser on him. Like if you're like dealing
Yeah.
with the Fae, you can't
They're really
do this,
cunning and
do certain things. You have to interact with it a certain way, otherwise they'll have power over you. So it seems like that's how they're interacting with him. Because they're like, why do you have this written word? Like, what can we do to appease you? And then he's just like, let me go. They're like, ha ha ha, nice try, you cunning elf.
yeah.
And then he says like this weird. He just makes this.
What to say?
So after he tries that, he makes this weird request. So, what was the request? I want to see what it was. Like, it's just this.
Are you still in chapter 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it says, in order for him to leave, he requires a berry that has never seen the sun, 2 stones polished by a frog, and 1 leaf of nightshade. And if he gets that, he'll leave with a blessing. And then instead of being like, the Lord's like, well, I'll see what I can do, and then leaves.
Yeah, I wonder, was that just some random stuff he was trying to just to get rid of him?
I think he's just making up crap.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And then it turns out, so the men.
Yeah.
So yeah, the leader leaves. We kind of look at that, and then when the leader and the brother leaves, Cephalwyn looks at him and says, "Let's cut the lies. I know what you're doing." So I'm like, "Oh, does she know that he's an interdimensional traveler?" But no.
Yep. Nope.
So getting into the next chapter, she just thinks that he's a con man.
Yeah.
She thinks that he's coming here to try to take advantage of like a more ignorant rural village and pretend that he's ale or whatever. Like, and she's even a guy. Like, you even shaved your beard. So I guess having a beard is like, I guess
That makes you an elf, but you have to have a beard to be an elf.
So she mentions like he has no beard and he's like small and has like really nice nails and nice teeth. So like, you really went all out to try to pull off this con, and then he just goes with it. He's like, yeah, totally. And she's like, so why aren't you capable? Like, why if you're conning us, why didn't you do research? Like, why didn't you at least flinch when I did my boast? So which would have been way more convincing. And he's like, because you hit me really hard in the head.
Has nothing to do with the fact that he has no idea what an elf is.
And then he just makes up this con just pulls out of his butt crack. I don't even know where he just makes it up. But I think she's still suspicious because as they're talking, he says little things that makes it kind of obvious that he doesn't know anything about where he's at. Like he says, because they called the leader of the village Little Father, he assumed that it was her dad. But she's like, no, they call the leader of the local place, the local lands, like the city lord, I guess.
Right.
And she calls him an elf, and he keeps mispronouncing it. Like he says, "Eilv" or like "Eilv" or something like that.
Right.
Like, you can't even pronounce this. Like, what the heck is up with your accent? Like, you don't even know what's going on. And he's like, "Oh, the hit to my head."
Yeah.
He keeps falling back on that. That's kind of funny.
And he gets another little memory flash. And what did he say? Oh, Cephalwyn, he notices that Cephalwyn has pockets in her dress. She pulls something out of her pocket. And then that just triggers a memory about someone named Jen and how she would always complain that her dresses didn't have pockets. So we don't know who this is. All we know is there's a Jen.
He doesn't know who she is either. He's like, wait, who's Jen?
Yeah. But but I believe he is even like, I don't remember who she is, but now I'm feeling like sad because whoever she is, I lost her. Like she has died. Was that in this chapter?
Yeah, this is the end of this chapter.
Oh, it's the very end. Yes.
Yeah. But they come up with a plan, Cephalwyn and him. So he's like, oh yeah, you outed me. I was just doing a con. How about we come to a compromise? You'll pretend that you got me into your power, take me to the messengers and we'll leave. And we're like that. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she cuts him down, and then that's when she reaches in her pocket to grab a knife, and that's when he has the flashback of Jen. And then there's like not Jen. Cephalin says a lot of things, because and this is when we also get more insight of they're apparently for some reason they're suspicious of the written word, because she says, because he asks for the remaining scraps of paper. He says asks if he can have them, and she's like, okay, like she didn't know what to do with them, so she says burning them would draw Logna's ire, but merely having them would draw Woden's. And so apparently there's two gods that if you have them will draw ire, or if you burn them will draw ire. So it seems like it's just kind of taboo to have written word.
Yeah, but don't you want to get rid of them, but
Yeah, so
don't burn them.
They can't read or write, these type of lay people, but they can like look at a piece of paper and be like, oh, I know that's right. That's bad.
Yeah, this makes me think. I don't know if this was the case for like everyone, if it was just like women, but it seemed like back in these days in our world, it was like the leaders and the rulers didn't want the common people to be able to read, because then they could learn things for themselves.
That sounds right. I know that they couldn't read, but I never knew.
Yeah, but it was always like they didn't want it to read. So this kind of feels like that to me. Like this is a religious something or other, or just some sort of cult, or just the government, the kingdom trying to keep power and control over all the people. Like, oh, don't be reading stuff, that's bad. And then they either made up all these stories like, oh, the gods, they will you get in trouble if you read these things, or if you have them even, you're in trouble. That's the vibe I get.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Who are these people?
And then she says a bunch of stuff. She's like, here, take your weird away and your foolish errors. And then this is when he's like, because he looks at her, he's like, I have no idea what you just said. That's what he thinks in his head. And then he says, Jen would laugh at me for, like he's saying, like, so ignorant. And he's like, Jen would laugh at me for, oh, Jen was dead. So we're like, oh, dang.
Yes. And who do you think Jen is? Like, just his wife, a girlfriend?
I think it's his wife, just based on what happens in the next chapter. Because he says he's felt a sudden sense of loss and pain for something he couldn't remember, but it was like a sudden audible scream. And the pain was like raw, and he had lost Jen. Somehow he'd lost her. So he's like, that seems like the kind of feelings you would have for a wife. And this is another part why it's my earlier thing. I don't think he's supposed to be here. Is because he has like a memory that Jen was the one he wanted to purchase or live in an alternate dimension.
Right. It was kind of her whole goal this whole time. And he I guess he still did it even though she had passed.
So
just
that's my thoughts.
for her.
My thoughts is something happened in this world, in his dimension, that made him go John Wick. And made him get all these augments. Because he said he was a working man, couldn't afford these. Someone else got it for him. So I'm assuming he joined some rebel cell group that's rising up against the government. Like he's on a mission to go into these other dimensions and do something. And that's why he was teleported there maybe by underground means. It's not the perfect technology. That's why he was kind of thrown in there. That's why he has like these combat instincts and stuff. Because he said even like he seemed like he was a normal guy, but now he's also has all these things that turn him into like a super spy soldier dude. So,
Makes sense to me.
My thoughts. So I think something happened to Jen. She got killed or died of some sickness or disease.
Now he's like out to kind of get a little bit of revenge type of thing. Yeah.
After that memory kind of hits, they're going to go give their plan to the leader and deliver him over to the messengers to say that I got him under my power. I was able to speak his ancient name, and now he has to obey me.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, just because after thinking back to like the inheritance cycle, there was always that whole big thing like don't reveal your true name. Yeah. So they have the same thing here. Don't be let them get your true name.
Yeah. And he's just bumbling their way they talk is just weird, and so he can't pronounce it. And she's like, "You're from Wales?" And he's like, "Welsh?" And she's like, "Walish." Like, you know we're in Westwara, right? Home of the Westwarans? Can't know where that is. And he's just kind of like,
yeah. He raises the same question that I had. It's like, is my history knowledge just crap? I can't remember if he says it here, but he's like, should I know these places from history?
I think that's what sparked his memory of Jen, like in the first chapter. He's like, Jen would laugh at me for not knowing any of this. And
Oh, okay.
oh yeah, Jen's dead. And then kind of skipping around a little bit, or I guess not skipping, just going forward a little bit. So they're walking again past where the initial offering was, where he stole the paper and the fruit and stuff is still there. And then he turns around, and then he turns back, and all the fruit's gone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, what the crap? And then he's like, what happened here? He's like, well, they took it. It was their offering. And so it makes you think that natural creatures are real in this world.
It's kind of turning around on us, where it seems like a total just science fiction, but there's a sprinkle of fantasy in here too, and definitely.
Apparently it's taken by the whites.
Yes, I want to know what the whites are. Tell me.
I don't know either.
I wonder if there's some sort of, maybe they don't sound like they're a deity.
They seem like maybe gay or promiscuous things.
Yeah.
So
they're like.
One of them might be mad at him for taking the page, and he's like, "It was mine." And she's like, "Not once we offered it to them." So.
Oh, so did they give the page to these whites?
Yeah, it was part of the offering. That's when he saw it, took it off the offering table, so it was like an offering. They were offering it to the whites.
Oh, so now they're mad.
That's what she thinks. She's like, maybe I can do a loosening, which I guess maybe that means scare them away from her.
There's a lot of terminology in this that we have not seen before.
I think it's another part of funny thing is so he's thinking about his skills, and he scans the courtyard, and he's saying those shadows could hide plenty. Because he's looking at this shadow, he's like, I don't know why I thought this was funny, but he said those shadows could hide plenty, as I'd proven by getting caught.
Yes, he's just trying to save his pride or something.
It's kind of funny. He's like, I could really hide me. He's like, wait, I was caught. So maybe not. And then we get our first cliffhanger of the book. Of course,
yeah, not even a surprise.
Yeah, but they walk into where the Lord is. So I guess his name is his title is Little Father. His name is Lord Elstan, something like that. Standing by is probably his wife, and the two messengers are there.
Was it the guy in the orange cloak that was standing up there?
So the guy in the orange cloak and his wife are standing next.
Okay, yeah, that's what I.
So Lord Alstan, and he sees the two messengers, and again he has like another. I don't know if it's a memory or a sense, but he knows who it is. One of the messengers' name is Ulrich Stormfinn, and is a man who absolutely 100%, no question about it, wanted him dead.
Yes.
So whoever this messenger is is not looking for this character to save him because there's been some sort of mistake, but he wants him because he wants to kill him. Which solidifies, in my opinion, my theory that he's not supposed to be there, and they're trying to get him out, and he's in some sort of fight with them. They're trying to kill him for some reason.
Yeah. So it still kind of does feel like he's someone rogue, like maybe he was part of some government spy organization or some sort of fighter for the government, but now he's gone rogue. And perhaps you're right because of his wife dying. We know she's dead. We assume it sounds like it could be his wife too. We just know it's Jen, and that she's dead. But maybe this guy who wants him dead is sent by the people he used to work for, and
We'll find out next week.
Maybe we're gonna find out in the next 4 weeks.
Unless whoever's listening to this podcast has already read this part.
Don't read too fast.
Don't tell us what happens.
Not allowed to tell us what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited for this book. I like the mystery. I think that's definitely my favorite part in these first few chapters. Is just
100%.
Jump right in. There's already a lot of suspense, already a lot of action, already a lot of what's going on. It kind of seems pretty different. So I'm looking forward to continuing on and reading more.
I would agree too that the mystery is something that's really sucked me in. I made the mistake of reading this while I was at work, and I didn't want to go back to work. This one grabs you so quick, in my opinion, that it's just like he's just suddenly there. You have no idea what's going on, and the title kind of leads you astray, thinking this is some medieval thing, which I mean it is, but not in the way you would think, because like we were talking about, like it sounds like there's a wizard.
He He's in medieval times in a different dimension.
Yes.
He's not a wizard. He's just
But like we were thinking like it would be like about a wizard who is
yeah.
guiding someone or giving the reader a guide to survive in medieval England, but it's totally different. Which is I love that because we got a really interesting Sanderson book that is not following the typical story, I guess you could say. So I'm really excited. I'm also I just thought it was funny that he rates everything. I want to see if he'll maybe rate people to their face. Like he'll be like, "You're really bad at interrogating me. 1.5 stars." And they're like, "What the heck are you talking about?" That'd be really funny. Maybe we'll find out he's blogging this whole thing and he just has a rate.
We'll find out next week.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see y'all next week.
Next week we go.
We're certainly not going out of the pages.
Yeah, we're going into
Bye.
Bye.
It's over.